Hello, everyone. Welcome back. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. We're going to read chapter 30 in Power of the Magdalene. And of course, this is still written by Joanna Prentis. No, Stuart Wilson and Joanna Prentis in that order. So chapter 30 is titled Melchizedek and Metatron. And chapter 30 is about 2.5 pages long. And then we have chapter 31, which is about 4 pages. So I'm going to see where we're at time-wise because we really only have about 3 or 4 more chapters left in this book. So I'll see where we're at time-wise when we're finished reading chapter 30 and see if we're going to add 31 into that. All right? When we were researching our first book, The Essenes, Children of the Light, Illyrio revealed a good deal of information about the Melchizedeks and their relationship with the Essenes. Although we understood that the order of Melchizedek is a service order of advanced teachers operating in many parts of the galaxy, we still knew very little about the head of the order. So we framed a question to cover this. Joanna, could you please tell us about the great being who founded the Melchizedek order? And that is being with the capital B. Illyrio. To understand Melchizedek, it is first necessary to understand his relationship to Metatron, or as we may know him, Archangel Metatron, one of the most powerful archangels of all of them. The work of these two great beings interlocks, and neither can be understood in isolation. There are two main aspects of the universe: light, which may also be perceived as energy, and consciousness. Light creates all the levels of the universe, right down to the physical level. All that you can see, including other beings, are made of light, crystallized or solidified, down till it reaches the physical level. Consciousness creates the process through which beings of light evolve spiritually. That evolution giving you the reason for your existence and the arc of your development. Both a rock and the greatest archangel are made of light, but the consciousness of the rock exists in potential, whereas the consciousness of the archangel exists in unfoldment and realization. In vibrational terms, the consciousness of a rock is extremely slow, unorganized, and crude, while the consciousness of a great archangel is fast, structured, and refined. Metatron oversees the energy, the light aspect of the universe, creating the light and the protocols and language of light, while Melchizedek oversees the spiritual education and development of consciousness of all material beings. The development of angelic beings is overseen by Metatron. So in a way, Metatron provides the physical environment in which spiritual evolution occurs, while Melchizedek nourishes and sustains that evolution in the unfolding of consciousness. Their work is very different, but together they combine to provide a complete experience for many beings on many levels of development. And the net result of their combined work is to take life at a very slow and primitive stage and enable it to expand in awareness so that what emerges in time are enlightened beings. Comment by Stuart. Both Melchizedek and Metatron are considered to be great beings who exist beyond the normal constraints of space and time. Some authorities say that Metatron is an archangel, but he is considered to be the most powerful of all archangels. It seems more likely that he is one of the Elohim, the leaders of the angelic host and the architects of creation. And yes, that makes sense because Metatron is also linked to sacred geometry and the creation of our planet and of all the planets, which are made of a sacred geometry, a geometric pattern. That's more 5D or 4D, not constrained to the limits of the 3D sights and senses that we experience. So far surpassing what we see when we look at a globe and we just see this round planet. Most authorities regard Melchizedek as an advanced star being, that is, a member of a civilization in some galaxy who has gone through an ascension process and is now a timeless and eternal being of light. The session continues. Joanna, is the Melchizedek teaching limited to sacred geometry? Alariel, by no means. It is hard for human beings to grasp the absolute flexibility of the Melchizedek teaching process. When they first contact a civilization, they spend time getting to know what that culture is most interested in. And when they teach within that parameter of interest. Some examples from Earth history may serve to illustrate this process. They discovered that the Maya were fascinated by time, so they taught them about calendars. They discovered that the Druids were fascinated by the natural world, so they taught them the wisdom of the trees and herbs and stars. They discovered that the Greeks were fascinated by line and form, so they taught them about sacred geometry. They discovered that the Jews were fascinated by the contrast of light and darkness, so they taught them about the struggle between good and evil. They discovered that the Egyptians were fascinated by transformation, so they taught them about ascension. That seems almost unfair. Now, I know that every culture and every country has had its own struggles, but when reading about the Jews being fascinated with the contrast of light and dark, and so they taught them about the struggle between good and evil, the first thing that came to my mind was the Holocaust. Was that part of what they were teaching the Jews? It seems an awfully disastrous way to go about it, and an awfully horrific way to look at it like that, or to think that that could be part of what their lessons were. But indeed, in many ways, the Holocaust was a lesson, and not just for them. All right. Amongst all the planets bearing sentient life throughout all the galaxies, they found many different peoples interested in many different things. And whatever that interest was, they talked about it. So they forced their views upon no one, but rather helped everyone to expand the seed of light that lay dormant in their consciousness. The Melchizedeks have a little phrase to explain this process. They say, "We always work with the current of the water and the grain of the wood." And that is eminently sensible, for to try to teach a people something that they find dull and boring is a thankless task that the Melchizedeks are much too intelligent to attempt. Joanna, what do you see as the main purpose of the Melchizedeks here on Earth? Alariel, above all, the Melchizedeks are trying to help you achieve your potential as human beings, through helping you to refine your consciousness so that you can rise towards the highest reaches of human awareness. The Melchizedeks are fundamentally relinking all the beings they teach to the source by showing them how to access the truth, the divine presence within. This process has the effect of reprogramming the consciousness and aligning that consciousness with the underlying light structure of the universe. This automatically takes the individual away from a selfish and materialistic perception of things and reorients them towards more spiritual goals. The achieving of the goals that lie along your spiritual path will release great joy within you, and these experiences of joy may be seen as the gifts of the Spirit. That is why the Order of Melchizedek has been described as administering the gifts of the Spirit. Although, to be more exact, they administer the developmental process, which enables the gifts of the Spirit to come into your lives. All right. So that is actually chapter 30. And I think I'm going to stop right there. I'm just going to keep these last few together or separate, and we'll read 31 in the next video because it is a bit longer. It's about 4.5 pages, which doesn't sound like a lot, but that's what most of these chapters have been, and they've taken us to about the 25-minute mark. So don't let the size of the chapter fool you. it can take longer to read that material. And then chapter 32 is maybe 2 pages long. So we'll probably just add those two together, and then we will read the last section, which is part 9, the conclusion. And we have 1 page. So I will break it up, keeping in mind to keep the parts of the book separate, even though I may be putting chapters together. So we'll stop right there, and in the next video, we will read chapter 31 and chapter 32, and that will complete part 8 of our video, or of this book. So until I see you again, take care of you, take care of those around you. I love you all so much, and I will see you for chapter 31. Bye-bye.